Pat, the floor is all yours, my friend. Welcome.
Love you, buddy. And by the way, if you guys saw the invitation that Eric set up this week, or I don't know, maybe it was Mary Margaret and Derek, but it had two German shepherds and a bunch of goats on it. That means a lot to me. I love my shepherds, I love my goats, and so, thank you, buddy. I appreciate it. Hey, I'm absolutely in love with what God has done through the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, through Bill W. and the gang, and what Bill put together with the gang in terms of these steps is nothing short of brilliant. It's nothing short of inspired. And there's a lot of people on here that I know well, and it's so good to see you guys. And God bless you, God bless you, God bless you. So many good friends on this thing. So it's sort of a happy place to be tonight. I'm excited. When we talk about this fourth step, I'm going to jump into some stuff and let me tell you sort of the lay of the land, how I'm thinking about this, okay? It's not a formal workshop, but it's not an informal step study. It's somewhere in between, which is sort of a cool thing. And so, Eric, we're going to do some considerations through these steps. We're going to do some, and I'm actually going to do an example, a principal inventory example. So if you get bored with me, hang in there because I'm actually going to do a principal inventory because there's a lot of confusion I find out in the rooms of AA about how to do principal inventory. And I didn't invent this stuff, gang. Bob Olson, who's now home with the Lord, he died. This is 2026. Gosh, I want to say it was in last year. Maybe it was the beginning of this year. I lose set of time. Tamara probably knows better than I do when Bob Olson died. But anyway, here's the point. In Denver, there's a gang that I come from as far as who taught me how to go through the work. And he came up with this principal inventory, and I think it's going to be valuable. I know it is for me. The longer I'm in sobriety, the more work I do through these steps, and I go through the steps yearly, the principal inventory becomes more and more the centerpiece of my fourth step inventory process. So before we get there, if you guys have a big book, I'm going to do like three or four passages before we get to the fourth step that I just want to highlight. And I'm going to be moving fast. And so, yeah, I know I'm talking fast, but got a lot of stuff to cover. And we'll try to shut this thing down in about 35 to 40 minutes. Eric, will that work okay? And keep me posted on that. I don't want to go overshoot the mark. I want to hear from all you guys. A lot more important than what I'm saying. All right. On page 27, it sets up what the dilemma is. It sets up what needs to happen for me to get well. Dr. Silkworth has talked to Bill about it, and he's saying, Bill, you're restless, irritable, and discontent. You got to have the first drink because you cannot live in your own skin. Even without the drink, Bill, you can't live in your own skin. And on page 27, they finally tell me, and there is a solution. What the rip is the problem? And the problem is I need a vital spiritual experience. And what is this vital spiritual experience going to do? It says, well, Dr. Young's talking to Rowan Hazard, and he says, here and there, once in a while, we see these alcoholics, and they have what I call vital spiritual experiences. And to me, their occurrences are a phenomena, Roland. I don't understand how to create them. I can't create them. I see them, but I can't create it. They appear to me to be in the nature, and listen to this, huge emotional displacements and rearrangements. That's what I need to be able to live life successfully with God, with myself, with you. And it goes on to define what does this spiritual experience, this vital spiritual experience look like? It's going to be ideas and emotions and attitudes which used to rule my life. That's how I live my life. These are going to be suddenly cast to one side. I want to emphasize this. It's not going to be worked on. This is a God event. God is doing this work. God is going to do something in Pat's life that's going to move Pat from a place where he has old ideas, old emotions, old attitudes, which have been guiding my life, and he's going to put inside of me new conceptions and new motives which are going to dominate how I live. In other words, this loving God, this powerful God experience that I'm going to have is going to start to dominate my life. And by the way, I want to be dominated by God. Okay? That's going to be my solution. So this is that vital spiritual experience. Now, hang in there with that. Now turn over to page 52. Or actually, let's do a drop by at page 45. Let's stop on 45 for just a second. In page 45, it says that really what I'm suffering from, if I want to have this vital spiritual experience, I got to live in a spiritual way of life, or I could try it on my own. And we conclude on page 45 that I can't live a spiritual way of life on Pat's power. Pat, I'm sorry, fella. What you suffer from is a lack of power. Butkus, you have nothing in the tank, buddy. You are empty. There's nothing left. You don't have the power. You don't have the wherewithal to make ideas, emotions, attitudes, motives, conceptions of how you run, how you rule your life. You can't get rid of what has been dominating your life. You lack the power. You lack the power. So page 52, let's go over there. Page 52, it says, well, where do I need this power? I mean, on a very practical level, I'm fighting this thing called a spiritual malady. We're going to talk about that in this fourth step. I'm fighting this spiritual malady. And how does it show up? I can't see it, but I could see the consequences. I could see the symptoms of the spiritual malady. And in that second full paragraph on page 52, it says, what does this spiritual malady look like? In other words, this disease of self, this disease of selfish self-centeredness. And he says, well, Pat, let me ask you a question. Forget about getting all fancy with selfish self-centeredness, because sometimes you can't touch that very well in your limited brain, Pat. But maybe you could touch this. Are you having trouble with personal relationships? Are you having trouble managing your emotional nature? In other words, what's going on inside your heart, inside your head, that you hope to God that no one ever finds out about. Hey Pat, how you doing today? I'm fine. Inside, I got a little voice screaming, Pat, you're not fine. You are a train wreck. You got all this stuff going on. You think you're a piece of garbage. You don't even think you have enough breath to get through the day, and you're telling people you're fine? What a joke. And can anybody relate to that? I certainly can. And so I got this train wreck of emotions going on inside. And I'm going to go fast because we got to get in the fourth step. But it says, I'm also a prey. I'm a target. And you know what? The spiritual malady is like a roaring lion. It's coming after me. And it's going to create misery in my life. And it's going to create depression in my life. It's going to give me the feeling and sensation that I can't make a satisfactory living. It's not about the money. Sure, the money is important. We got to be able to survive. I get that. But it's about being satisfied when you wake up, a sense of joy in your heart about being involved in life. Like instead of having drudgery when Monday shows up. You get me? Does that make sense? All right. And what else does it say? I have a feeling of being useless. I don't even feel like I could contribute or add value in people's lives, my own life, or my company's life, or my friendship's life, my spouse's life. I can't do it. And more that is eroding a lot of who I am is this: I'm full of fear. I'm fear that you're going to find out who I am. I'm going to be afraid that you won't ever accept me. I'm afraid that I'm not good enough. I'm afraid. I got fear and I'm unhappy. The genuine contentment in my life is zero. I am unhappy. And don't let anybody tell you you don't want to be happy in life. I mean, we get happy and joy and all the kind of stuff, but you know what? It's good to wake up with a smile or a chuckle in your heart. It just is. And then finally, it says, I can't be of real help to other people. In other words, no one's coming to me. No one wants my advice. By the way, I didn't really care about that when I was first going through the work. I couldn't care less. I was real help to other people. Eric's laughing. I don't care if I'm real help to other people. I want other people to be real help to Pat. That's where I'm rolling. That's what I'm saying. All right. Okay, now let's go forward a little more. Let's go over to page 61 and 62. We're almost there and we're almost into the fourth step. Okay, this is, by the way, this sort of tees up for the next 2 weeks also. So we won't have to do this again. But on 61 and 62, you know, we've spent 60 pages talking about you can't live life successfully on your own. You are a victim of your own delusion. On page 62, it says, Pat, you're a victim of the delusion that you can wrest satisfaction and happiness out of life if you manage it well. And the whole premise of a page 61 and 62 is you can't manage it well. In fact, you're a train wreck. You are self-will run riot. You are an actor and not producing any kind of cool play, cool film, cool movie. You're producing confusion. People are getting up and walking out and demanding their money back halfway through your movie, Pat. They don't even want to participate anymore. They're saying, enough of this, turn out the lights, put the film back in the can, put it in the corner, don't let the light of day ever see it. You ever feel like that? Here we go. So that's 61 and 62, but there's an interesting paragraph that we don't ever talk about very much. On the bottom of page 61, it summarizes what I'm up against. It says, Pat, you are a self-centered, egocentric person. And I'm going to describe for you, Pat, how you are in 4 different arenas of life. And we're going to assign some names to them. The first name we're going to assign to it is the businessman who is lolling in the Florida sunshine. He's retired. And what's his normal state in retired bliss? Complaining. He wakes up complaining. He goes through the day complaining. He goes to sleep complaining. And his attitude about being a complainer, it's really sort of basic. He's never satisfied. There's not enough in making a living. There's not enough in relationship. There's not enough in money. There's not enough love. He's complaining. Well, what's the next relationship? The next relationship is, what about this guy called the minister? Well, the minister sighs over the sins of the 20th century. I've got a moral code, and you guys aren't living up to my moral code. You have a responsibility to show up and be honest with me, to support me, to love me, to care for me. No, 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 no. It's a one-way street. I don't have to do these things for you, but you have an obligation to do them for me. And this attitude about the minister is my way is right. I got a judgy, critical heart. Anybody on this call have a judgy, critical heart? There's not a day that goes by. Eric's shaking his head. There's not a day that goes by that I don't have to give this to God and say, God, would you please clean up my heart? Tamara and I have talked about this over the last year or so. I can't seem to get out of my own way sometimes. That judgment, that criticism, I go to the meeting and they're not doing it right. They're saying the wrong thing. They said recovered alcoholic. They didn't say just an alcoholic. They say recovering alcoholic. That's the wrong word. We get all these terms, this judginess about what's going on in the fellowship. Oh, they mention addicts. They mention that this is alcoholics only. We got all sorts of judginess that we got going on. Well, it's the minister. Okay, next guy. Politicians and reformers all would be utopia if only people would behave. Isn't that what I'm asking of other people? Will you please behave when you're in relationship with me? Show up in my life the right way. Show up for my sake. If I'm in business, I want you to contribute to my welfare. It's not about me contributing to your welfare, that's for sure. And in my relationship with my wife, it is not about what I can do for my wife. It's what she can do for me. It's how she can make me feel, what she needs to do to make me okay. So I got this kind of I'm going to reform the world. I'm going to make them buy into what I'm doing. And then the final one I thought was sort of fun that we put in here on page 64, I'm sorry, page 63 is the outlaw safecracker. Think about that. 1939, we got a depression going on in the United States, and this guy's ripping off houses, and he's blaming the society for being locked up. He's not taking any responsibility for his life. He's blaming it on everybody else. Does that sort of sound like Pat? No, I don't ever blame. I don't blame others. I always take responsibility. No, I don't. I don't take responsibility. I don't own my actions. I don't own my attitude. I don't evaluate my attitude. I evaluate yours. I parse you apart. I dissect you, your attitude, your behavior, your actions, not mine. Can you guys identify with this? Okay, this is how we walk in. This is how we roll into the fourth step. They're trying to warm us up, saying, listen, you're not you can't be sitting on the pedestal, Pat. What you're experiencing in life is a spiritual malady, and this spiritual malady is trying to take you down. It is going to dismantle your life. It is going to destroy your soul. It's going to tear away the fibers of your identity. It's going to take away the soundness of your mind, and it's going to leave you as the depleted bag of pus on the side of the road. And when it's finally done with you, it's going to stomp you out like a curb stomp. Make no bones about it. The spiritual malady, selfish self-centeredness, is not designed to be our friend. It's designed to kill us. And unless we get relief from this spiritual malady, this selfish self-centeredness, we're going to die emotionally, relationally, soulfully. Even in your business concerns, you're going to die. And the bottom line is, I've got to get relief. And page 45 says, Pat, dude, you don't have the power. You can't pull it off. You need a complete rearrangement. You need a vital spiritual experience. You need to be put on new soil, in new soil, on new ground, with a whole new being. Step 3 says I have to be recreated, but I can't do it myself. I can't recreate Pat. What a dilemma. So, what do we do about it? It's been 63 pages and it tells me I can't get the job done. Hello, thank you very much. Turn out the lights. Good luck with life. Thank God the book didn't stop on page 63. It gives us a way out. Fourth step. Thank God for fourth step. Okay, so we go into it now. You ready? So, what I want to do, last thing that we're going to push out there and we're going to talk about as I go through this fourth step inventory, it tells me that in this way of life, I have to give up playing God because it didn't work. And on page 62, it says, next, we decided that hereafter, in this drama of life, that's the way we live. It's not talking about drama like a bad thing, just life, okay? God's going to be our director. Why? Because me being my own director didn't work. God's going to be my principal. We're going to talk about that word means in a little bit. Why? Because me playing principal, making you represent me, making me represent me, didn't have enough horsepower, didn't get the job done. We are the agents. I need to be in proper relationship in my life. I keep thinking I'm God. I keep climbing up on the throne, and God says, you know what? You don't have the pedigree and you don't have the resume to play God. You're not going to get the job done, son. Why don't you step down, climb down from the throne? He's going to be my papa. God's going to be my father. Me trying to keep myself safe and secure, me trying to take care of me has never worked out. I need a new papa. And we are his children, children with deep affection with God. And by the way, wait till you see this principal inventory about this whole thing about God. Most good ideas are simple, and this concept was the keystone of a new and triumphant arch to which we're going to walk to freedom. So we need this vital spiritual experience, and the pinnings of this vital spiritual experience is a new way of living, a new attitude, a new behavior, a new conceptions and motives, new actions that I can't do on my own. I can't get rid of my old ones. They have to be cast out of me by the power of God. And how is God going to do that? God's going to use these steps to accomplish that very thing. If I don't elect in my life to have the keystone be my new orientation in life where God is on the throne, I'm left with Pat on the throne. And it's not a keystone of freedom, it's a tombstone of death with Pat running his life. You get me? All right. I love this. So it says we got to do this personal house cleaning. Now we're on page 64. 63 says we're going to launch out on this new course, this new vigorous action. The first step, which is to take, going to be a personal house cleaning. It says most of us have never attempted this. I don't know about you guys. Before I got into AA, the last thing I ever did was a personal inventory. I never even, why are you kidding? The only inventory I did is take inventory from places I was ripping off. Okay. That's what I was doing. There wasn't any personal inventory. There wasn't any working on self. I was working on you. I was really working on you, but I wasn't working on me. Though our decision was vital, this third step decision to turn my will and my life over to the care of God, this keystone decision, God's going to be all those five things we just talked about. He's going to be my father. He's going to be my director. He's going to be my principal. He's going to be my employer. He's going to be my maker. Boy, we're going to talk about this. That's an important decision, but it's not going to have a whole lot of permanent effect unless I at once use some strenuous effort to face and to be rid of the things in myself which have been blocking me. Liquor is just a symptom. I got to get down to the causes and conditions. All right. So we got some causes and conditions we got to deal with. And so we're going to go through this fact finding, and it tells me that my life is like a commercial inventory. And so I hear in the room sometimes that, hey, I did the steps one time back in 1908, and I live in steps 10, 11, and 12 for the rest of my life. Isn't it grand? Well, my answer to that used to be a little bit sophomoric and teenagerish, and I would be yelling and confrontational to somebody and going, that's not doing it out of the book. That's not what the book says. The book says it's commercial inventory, and you got to do it every year. Commercial inventory for a business does it every year. Why don't you? And I found that wasn't a whole lot of love and tolerance for my fellow AAer. Eric's laughing at me again. I didn't have a lot of love and tolerance. And here's what I say now. I say, why would I not want to let God take me further in my experience in knowing how much I need God in my first step? How much I need God in my current level of agnosticism in step two? How much do I need God today in understanding and growing in this step three relationship with God? Isn't it worth going back through and finding out deeper, more nuggets of truth? I think it is. And so my experience is try it and then have an opinion about doing it more often than maybe just once. We end up working with a lot of folks that haven't done inventory for a while. And when they come in to the way that we do the work and they do the inventory, they get set free. It's not because we're special. It's because the book's special. The book's special. A lot of times we just don't read it. That's all. Okay. So we keep on going. So we're going to take this commercial inventory. It says that we can't fool ourselves about values. Now, here's the thing about the values. And I'm going to start using some terms like column 1, column 2, column 3, column 4 in just a moment. But one of the things that we run into is I can't fool myself about my stock in trade. That's the currency that I live my life by. What kind of currency does Pat bring to life? Well, Pat brings an attitude. Pat brings some routines and how he responds and how he works with people, how he introduces himself, how he accesses and assesses whether a person's safe to be around. Pat's got some belief patterns, some self-defeating beliefs, unfortunately, that say Pat's no good. Pat can never be trusted. No one's ever going to love Pat. Pat's going to be alone the rest of his life. God doesn't love Pat. God doesn't care anything about Pat. I got some old beliefs. I got some old conceptions about you. You aren't to ever be trusted. All you're out to do is hurt and harm me. That's been my experience with humankind. There's no way in the world I'm ever trusting you. Thank you very much. I'm lonely and I need to connect to other people, but I can't afford to connect to other people because I don't trust you. I had some other old ideas. I didn't understand boundaries. I didn't understand how to navigate life and be civil without being a victim. I knew how to dominate, but I didn't know how to just show up. So we got these old stock and trade ways that we conduct our life, and the inventory is an invitation to find out what's working in Pat's life, what's working in your life, and what's not. And we find out what's not working in my life by these resentments that crop up. So it says here, we're going to do exactly the same thing in our lives in a commercial inventory. We're going to take stock honestly, and we're going to. This is the middle of page 64. I'm about a little, almost a little bit after halfway down the page. First, we search out our flaws and our makeup and cause our failure, and being convinced that self, there's that word again. It's not talking about self like you as a person or a bad thing. That's not what it's saying. It's talking about the spiritual malady directed self, selfish, self-centered self, the selfish pus bag self. You with me? You got a picture of that little pus bag? Yeah, right there. All right. This little self manifests, exposes himself in various ways. And one of the common ways that my little selfish, self centered, fearful, prideful, contentious, rebellious, angry, critical, judgy self shows up is you offend me and I cop a resentment. It says here, resentments, Pat, are your number one offender of this spiritual malady. It destroys more alcoholics than anything else. From it stem all forms of spiritual disease. Spiritual disease is a fancy word. Selfish self-centeredness fits it better. Rebelliousness, independence from God. It's a sense of fear. It's a sense of self pity. It's a sense of self seeking. It's a sense of self delusion. It's all this self hyphenated, all the rest of the stuff behind the word that I'm showing up and trying to live my life successfully without God, and it's not working. It's called a spiritual malady. I'm not aligning myself with the universe the way that the universe is set up. I've never been designed to live independent of God. And God says, I want you to have a full and vibrant personality, Pat. I made you. I'm your maker. You are a masterpiece. But right now, you got a canvas, you got a blanket over the canvas, and no one can see who you truly are. And the blanket over my canvas is a spiritual malady. And God wants to pull it back. God wants me to turn to the Father of lights. It means the destruction of selfish self centeredness. And it says here, for we have not only been, now listen to this, for we have not only been mentally and physically ill, we have been spiritually sick. When the spiritual malady is overcome, we straighten out mentally and physically. Whoa, 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 whoa. Wait a minute, big book. Are you telling me that unless I get aligned properly with God, I'm always going to be a victim of my own thinking, my own attitudes, my own self defeating beliefs, my own motives, my old conceptions of life, the things that keep causing train wrecks and riots and firefights and tire fires in my life all over? Are you telling me that that's going to continue to happen for the rest of my life? Oh, yeah, Pat. And not only a little bit, a lot of it, and only worse. Until that's dealt with, you're not going to straighten out mentally. And if you get jacked up enough mentally because of the spiritual malady being active in your life, Pat, you're going to fall into the obsession to drink. And what's been your first step experience, Pat, with the drink? Were you successful? Did that work out pretty well? Or did you nearly die? Pat, do you want to live today? I mean, not only physically, but do you want to live spiritually alive? Do you want to live mentally clear and full personhood? That's the invitation. So the inventory is four columns. The first column, it says, bottom of page 63, 64, In dealing with our resentments, we set them on paper. We list the people, institutions, and principles who we're mad at, who we're upset with, angry. There's some words that they use for the first column: angry, hurt, top of page 65. Angry, hurt, threatened, sore, burned up. I have a grudge, second paragraph, page 65. I have been injured by you. I'm a victim. I've been interfered with. The end of that second paragraph on page 65. Those are the first column words that I get to associate with a little bit. And then it asks me this. It's column 2. Pat, ask yourself why you are angry, hurt, threatened, sore, burned up, judged, feeling judgy, grudgy, injured, interfered with. Put that in your second column. And what we're going to discover, Pat, is we're going to go, and I'm going to go fast now because we only got like 15 minutes to cover an inventory example. We're good. But here's the deal. The third column are the 7 areas of self. And they're not bad things, guys. God designed us that way. God of heaven designed us that way. He loves our 7 areas of self. They're designed to love and support and nurture and care not only for us but the families in the society and the fellowship in the groups that we hang with and the people and the places that we contribute to. We use these 7 areas of self. And what are they? The bottom of page 64 says, here's one of them: your self-esteem. Here's another one: your pocketbook. Think of pocketbook as your resourcing financially, socially, psychologically. Even your time is a resource. I could go on and on and on. And then another area of self, 7 areas of self: ambitions. What do you want out of the play in your life? How do you want the scene to look? How about personal relationships? I have a belief around every relationship. I have a belief about how AAers should act. I have a belief about how a true friend acts. I have a belief about how an employer should act. I have a belief how an employee should act. I have a belief about how a wife, a husband, a friend, a daughter, a son. I have beliefs around personal relationships. Does that make sense? Thumbs up. Is that good? All right. Another one, sex. Now, it's not talking about what your favorite position is. It's talking about sex relation. I have an identity that I think about when a real man should be like this. Right, Derek? Here's what a real man looks like. Laura, here's what a real woman looks like. This is what a real woman's belief patterns are. This is how she shows up in life. All right. And then down to the next paragraph on page 65, it says, how about security? That's an area of self. What do I need to be okay? If the ambition's the outside, what happens in life? What does that do for my inside? What is the security that I need to be okay? And then it gives an example on page 65 of, and I'm not going to go through it right now, but Bill goes through Mr. Brown, Mrs. Jones, my employer, my wife, and he says column 2 is the cause. These are the reasons he's all burned up and threatened and hurt with Mr. Brown. He had attention to the wife, and all sorts of stuff. Mrs. Jones, she's locking up my best buddy in the asylum. I can't even drink with my buddy anymore, and she's gossiping about me. You got the employer. I can't believe the guy's getting all rump hurt because I'm swiping some money from the company. Can you believe that? I think I'm due. I think he should contribute to my bottom line. It's not me contributing to his bottom line, it's the other way around. And then we go on to the third column, which says affects my, and that affects my is those 7 areas of self. In this example, he just goes through a few of them. And this is all going to make sense when I show you my example. But what it's asking me to do is when I'm doing inventory, not exhaustively so, I've been around where some people have done 4, 5, 6, 700 pages of inventory. And I go, God help you and God bless you and God have mercy on you. That's too much for Pat. I have ADD. I got limited attention span, right? Michelle knows that. She says, Pat, you got a goldfish brain. So I come into this inventory, and all it's really saying to me says, Pat, when you're writing this inventory, be thorough and be honest. Just be thorough, be honest. You're going to be doing this kind of you're going to be doing this kind of activity the rest of your life. So if you don't get all 700 of them in one shot, don't sweat it. Because by the way, you're not going to be effective trying to do 700 inventories. You're going to lose your mind. Okay. First thing we find out on page 66 is that the world's not treating Pat right. Isn't that what we found out with the minister and the politician, the reformer and the safecracker and the retired business guy? Wasn't that what we found out? The world's not lining up the way it should. And to conclude that others are wrong as far as I ever get. Well, that's how I do inventory. I did plenty of inventories when I was out there. I did it all on you. I dressed you up and dressed you down and how you should and how you should not show up in my life. I never once did the next thing. The usual outcome was that people wronged me and I stay sore. Sometimes I have remorse. I'm sore at myself. I got some self pity. I got some guilt. I got some shame. But the more I fight and try to have my own way with you and make you do what I want, the worse things got. I only seem to win when I win that little itty bitty squabble, but I lose the war. It's plain that a life which is lived on deep resentment only leads to futility and unhappiness. And I squander hours that might have been worthwhile. The only hope that I have, here it comes back again, is the maintenance and the growth of a spiritual experience. Well, how's that going to happen? I'm going to start looking at my own life differently. Let's see, what time is it? Holy cow. Eric, I'm jamming this time. Are you all right if I go like 2 minutes past?
Absolutely. Yep. I just texted Derek. I said if he gets close to time, add a little bit of time to it so he
All
can.
right, I'm hurrying, I'm hurrying, I'm
No,
hurrying.
you're doing
This is a lot,
fine. You're doing fine. Do your
lot to
thing,
cover.
brother. Do your thing.
All right. So what it says to me halfway through on page 66 is if I don't have this growth, this maintenance and growth of a spiritual experience, these resentments are actually going to kill me. It's infinitely grave and it's fatal. And I harbor these resentments. I guard and protect these resentments, and they are going to kill me. I cut myself off from the power of God, and what happens? I go insane. When I cut myself off from the power of God, I go spiritually insane. So what am I going to do about it? Well, I'm going to turn back to this list and I'm going to look at this thing and I'm going to look at it from a completely different point of view. I'm going to say that the world and the people that I'm trying to interact with, they've been dominating my life. Every time I go up, get out of bed and go out the door, people interfere with my life and I am being dominated and played all day long because people aren't showing up and doing what I want them to do. In the state, that kind of a state, the fancy to reel these resentments, they had the power to actually kill me. How am I going to escape from this stuff? How's it going to be mastered? And get this really important point, my resentments I never work on. I don't work on resentments. It says we saw that these resentments must be mastered, but how? We could not wish them away any more than we could alcohol. It's saying that I'm as powerless over my resentments as I am powerless over the allergy and the mental obsession. Wow. Take that to a meditation. So, what am I going to do? This is our course. We're going to pivot and we're going to say, we're going to realize that the people that we're jammed up with that aren't showing up right in our life, it's possible that they're acting out of selfish, self-centered fear just as much as we are. They might be spiritually sick just like us. We don't like the way they're showing up in our lives, the symptoms, the things that they've done that have offended me, or the way they disturb me and all my beliefs around the third column. They, like ourselves, are sick. So what we're going to do is we're going to pray. God, will you please show me the way to be tolerant? Pity back in 1939 really meant compassionate. Will you show me how to be tolerant, compassionate, and patient? I want to treat this person like a cancer patient in the hospital. I want to, that's literally what it said in the original edition. I want to treat this person with kindness and love and mercy and grace. When a person offends me, I want to say to myself, this person's sick. How can I be helpful to him? God, please show me the way. Save me from angry. Thy will be done. Being angry. And so we go into this list and we're going to look for the first time not at them at all. There's no part, their part, our part. No, 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 no. Quit playing the part game. If I want to show up happy and whole in life, I can't be situational with other people. I have to be a whole person. So I'm trying to get rid of stuff in my life. I'm trying to be in a position where God could take away stuff in my life that's been jamming me up. Pat, that attitude that you hold, that judgment you hold, that belief pattern you hold is not helpful in your life. Whether it's Derek in front of you, Sean in front of you, Mary Margaret in front of you, Mike or Eric or Candy, anybody that you run into, if you have that attitude still in your heart, they're going to be on your resentment list. Because somehow, some way, they're going to show up just like everybody else does, and you're going to be dominated. Are you through being dominated, Pat, or do you want to be dominated for the rest of your life? Do you want to live free, or do you want to live in captivity? You with me? What do you think? So far, so good? All right. I'm going to take you now. I'm going to screen share. And I want you guys, if you have the ability, just take a look at my screen. And what I'm going to do is I am going to share with you one of my inventories. By the way, this is my inventory. This isn't somebody else's. We have these up on our, let's see, can everybody see? Can everybody see this? Okay. All right. So this is a sample inventory. All right. And so the sample inventory says this. I'm doing the principal inventory. And here's my principle that I was angry about and I was really frustrated with. God, you don't give a flying rip about me. Okay? That's my resentment. I'm resentful at God. This is when I first walked in the rooms. God struck me sober in 2002, and this was exactly my belief system in 2002. God, you don't care about me. Why do I believe that? What did I do? What caused me to be angry, hurt, sore, threatened, interfered with, have a grudge against God? God, if you cared about me so much, you wouldn't have let my parents, relatives, partners, or authority figures abuse me, sexually and otherwise. You wouldn't have let that bad stuff go on. I'm a little kid. How in the heck do I protect myself, God? Where were you? God, you ignore me and you won't help. God, you don't protect me. And then we do a thing called target because I want to have a sort of a laser focus when I go into my third column about these 7 areas of self. Here's my target. Pat, when I'm saying to myself, Pat, you're alone in this world and there is no one there to help you. You're on your own, brother. So how does it affect Pat's self-esteem? I want to believe, here's my belief and my self-esteem that I'm worth caring for, that I'm worth protecting. I'm valuable. But I got a fear around this area of self, and here's my fear. Because I don't have enough juice. I don't have enough power to pull it off. I'm powerless. I don't have control, and I'm not going to be safe. Well, how do I want other people to see me? That's what pride is answering in my 7 areas of self. When I go out to the world, how do I want the other world to see me? Well, I want others to protect me. I want other people to see me as powerful, not as a victim. Well, what's my fear around that? I'm always going to be a victim. I can't take care of myself. I can't protect myself. Well, as you're going through life with God, how did you want life to just show up? How did you want life to come out? Well, the people that abuse me, I want them to pay for what they did to me. I want them dead. I want to believe that there's a God who loves me, cares for me, and can bring justice. What's my fear around that? I must not be worth protecting. I feel pretty worthless. I don't have any rights. I'm never going to heal from the brokenness that I came into the program with. I am completely unlovable. I'm despicable. I'm detestable. If you knew the things that were done to me and the things that I did, you would be running for the hills away from me. Well, what about security? That's another area of self that got jammed up because of this belief around God that God doesn't care about Pat, that God doesn't love Pat. The security, I need to be, here's what I needed that I didn't have enough power inside of my own power sourcing. I need to be strong and self reliant to be okay. Well, the problem is I'm weak, powerless, and alone. I can't pull off what I need to be okay. It's not wrong to want to feel strong. It's not wrong to be able to be reliant, but not on self, on God. Well, what about personal relationships? God, what do I think about that because of where I'm at? Well, a real man believes in and has a vital relationship with God. I can't have that. I'm stuck. Everybody else around AA is talking about this God experience. Everybody's talking about how good God is and how great God is and Papa this and Papa that. And all I could get is I can't believe. I don't believe that's going to work. Well, what about what's my view of a real man, sex relations, a real man? Well, a real man doesn't need anyone to protect him. He could take care of business. He walks down the street and people back up. Well, the truth is, I'm a victim and I'm weak and I'm powerless. That's just the truth of it. What about pocketbook? We're almost finished with this and we'll go on to the fourth column. We'll be done and we'll open up for sharing. What about my resources? What can I pull in? What am I about my finite resources that I try to live life by? No one should make treatment to heal so expensive they're out of reach. Because everybody said, Pat, you need to go to counseling forever and a day. And the counseling, I don't know, was a couple $100 an hour back in the day. And I didn't have the money. I didn't have insurance. How am I going to do this thing? I can't get social services. I have a living, but I don't make enough. Get me? I don't have a way to get there. So I'm hopeless and I'm helpless. Well, what a great place to be. Now, the first question, I don't have it on the sheet, is God, please help me see the truth about my resentment. I don't think you care about me. I don't think you protect me. I think you ignore me. And what I find out is that's a bold face lie. That's not true. I didn't die from all the experiences I had. I didn't take my own life. I didn't die with all the things that I should have died with a long time ago. So let's go to the second page, which is there's a realization. I didn't write it down, but here's my realization with God. Okay. I didn't care about God. I didn't care about getting to know God. I didn't care about anything about God. The only thing I wanted from God were God goodies. I just wanted God to do in my life what I wanted him to do in my life. Thank you very much. I did not want God to be a loving authority in my life. I didn't want to answer to God. I just wanted God to do God stuff in Pat for Pat's sake, not for God's sake. You get me? And I was off the beam and I didn't even realize it. I said, God, please show me the truth. And that's what came to me years and years and years ago. It revolutionized my idea about God. Well, the fourth column is all about how do I try to play God in my life and not be in the keystone decision? How do I keep on playing God that's not working? Well, what kind of behavior? Self seeking behavior? I try to guard and protect myself. I try not to be vulnerable to other people. I attack people first. I use humor to control situations and others. I use sarcasm as a quick wit weapon of choice. I have a sharp tongue, folks. I may not be able to manually wipe somebody out, but I could tear them up with my mouth. That's what I do. And I fight hard and I fight to kill. That's how I live life. Well, what kind of attitude was behind that kind of action? Well, I keep a closed mind. I'm the most important person here. I'm going to do whatever I need to do to get what I need out of you. No one else has my back. That's why I fight to kill. I fight to win. You get me? Not much fun of a guy to be around Pat, that's for sure. Well, what's the delusion? What's the dishonesty behind this thing? I mean, God, show me the truth about this. Well, the truth is that I'm in the delusion that I don't need people. I'm in the delusion that God can't be trusted. That's just not true. I see plenty of evidence around life that God can be trusted. Why can't I? I've been too shut down. What am I afraid of? I'm afraid that if there is a God, he'll never love me. And I'm afraid that I can't be fixed. Can you guys relate to this? So, what kind of harms did I do to people because of this in the inventory? I hate me. Anybody have some self hatred? You know, the spiritual malady will do anything in its power, which, by the way, is limited. The spiritual malady up against God is no contest. It is a fly on an elephant's back. It's a flip. It's a twick of the wrist to get rid of the spiritual malady. It's not a deal breaker. But the spiritual malady, when I'm trying to fight it on my own power, it says, Pat, you're not worth loving, not by anybody and not by you. Hate yourself, Pat. Hate yourself. So I hated me for not having the answers and being weak. I'm not being open-minded to the possibility that God even exists or wants to have a relationship with me. Wow. Now, it sounds like there should be more on this page. I'm going to stop sharing and we're done. It sounds like there should be more on this page because doesn't it lead us to, well, what do you do about this? Where do you go from here? How do I get to the other side? And the other side is going to be exposed in my fifth step, and my sixth step, and my seventh step experience. And we don't have time to talk about it now. So I love you guys. Thank you for letting me share. We'll call it a day.